Welcome to Karate 360, episode 15. I am one of your hosts, Richard Mosdell.
I'm the other host, Kalan Anglos.
And we're so happy that you have brought us on to your wonderful source of listening entertainment. And we're here to blast through all kinds of news and updates and fitness stuff and zip around the world in a 360 direction for your insights into karate and everything that it's all about, eh?
Everything that it's all about. And of course, this is kind of our special holiday episode, you could say, coming out on December 26th. So it'll be the day after Christmas.
That's right.
So
I saw Sensei kissing. Anyway.
So we're going to talk a little bit about...
Mommy kissing Sensei. That's it.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Must have been. We're going to talk a little bit about some holiday traditions, any holiday traditions you have in the dojo. We're going to talk a little bit about what happens in Japan for Christmas and for New Year's and that kind of thing, and a little bit of our own personal stuff as well. And we'll get into that later on here in this episode.
That's right. And I know you've all marked your calendars down for the amazing events that are going to happen in 2017, right from things local for us, the BC team selections on January 7th, to the U.S. Open in the middle of April in Las Vegas, and the Canada Open June 3rd and 4th in Richmond beside Vancouver at the Richmond Olympic Oval.
And also don't forget as well the Canadian National Championships, February 24th, 26th in Quebec City.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Anyways, guys, so that's what we got on tap. And again, this is episode 50 of Karate 360. Karate 360, let's start the show. You will kick high and I will sweep low. From local to global, the thing that you love, karate. Sanrokumaru. And welcome to episode 15. Again, this is Karate 360, and this is our special holiday episode.
So I said to my son, I said, "Hey, son." He said, "Yes, Dad." I said, "Hey, you want to be on our podcast?" He said, "No." I said, "Oh, are you shy?" "No." "Do you do karate?" "Of course I do karate." "Don't you want to talk about everything that's cool about the karate world?" He said, "Of course I do." I said, "Why don't you want to be on the show?" "Because you don't say 360 properly in Japanese."
Yeah. Sounds like a true Japanese-born son.
Yeah, I'm like, I know, we 360 because it sounds cool.
Yeah, that's right. It just kind of works the way we do it.
He said it's 360. I'm like, that's 360.
Yeah.
We say 360. Well, then he said you should say 360. I'm like, yeah, but 360 sounds cool.
Yeah, it just rolls.
Until you fix your intro. I'm not coming on the show.
Well, James, we apologize.
We'll get him on.
Yeah. So what is Sanrokumaru? Is Maru not 0?
Maru is 0, but we're saying 360, so 360.
Oh, I see.
So
yes.
3 is san and 60 is rokuju, 610.
Yes, okay.
Right?
So really we're saying 360
Yes.
when it's pronounced 360.
And my son is only 7, so it's only so far his insights are going to go. But,
Yeah.
but he,
we'll work it out.
Yeah, but he's good.
That's good.
We have lots of things to talk about. I think next week we'll still get one more episode in. It'll be our last one to record in 2016.
And
then it'll come out like
January 2nd.
January 2nd.
Yeah.
So for that one, I've been thinking about us doing a wrap up.
Yeah, that's good.
Like a review of all of the 2016 things that have happened.
Yes, yeah.
Because we've got some landmark events.
Absolutely. A big year for karate.
Yeah, exactly. And we will be recording next week, but let's get into this week's show because we still have tons of stuff to go into. So the first thing we're going to do is dive into holiday traditions in the dojo and then go on from there. Kalan, when you were growing up, did you have any traditions in your karate club?
We didn't necessarily have any, Christmas or holiday traditions, so to speak, but every kind of last class before the end of the winter break, which usually came somewhere in the middle of December, we would just have a big games day where everybody in the dojo, we would play wall ball, we called it, which was just basically dodgeball. We would just play a number of different games, team-based and individual-based kind of games. We'd maybe do like some fun little tournament stuff like that, but nothing really that was holiday-based, I don't think. It was just kind of something to have fun and kind of send you off and see in the new year type of thing. Yeah, and I know what here at Kenzan we do something a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in Japan, it's common the last practice of the year to do 1,000 punches.
Yes.
Senbonzuki.
Senbonzuki. Yeah.
Senbonzuki. And it's quite common. So everyone will, what they'll do is actually sometimes if a club is big, they'll rent a hall.
Okay.
Like, for example, Arikawa Sensei, he'll rent a really big hall at a community center and have all the, basically from elementary school up. So he can pile like 600 people into that room.
Wow.
They'll do some basics. They'll do some kata. And then they line up all standing in naihanchi stance. And then there's so many people there, and they have one person with a microphone.
Okay.
And they go from person to person. Each person counts out 1 to 10. And they go up and down the lines, up and down the lines. And at the end, everyone sits down, and then Sensei gives some sort of, speech.
Yes.
Right? Some one theme topic. So a lot of clubs are like that. But Kenzan, my instructor, Maeda Sensei, he adds senbon keri.
Yes.
Which is 1,000 kicks.
Yes. So 1,000 punches and 1,000 kicks.
And 1,000 kicks.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, we're going to do that. So my last karate club in Tokyo, I had all the students do 1,000 punches and 1,000 kicks. One year, Kakiya Sensei came in for the last practice, and he's like, your legs are lazy. And he took a string and just under knee height and attached it to 2 walls on either side.
Okay.
And then all the kids had to line up, and they had to kick over the string height and retract over the string height.
Sure. Kind of like when you have, with kids, you sometimes put a kid balled up in front of you.
Exactly.
So you have to kick over top
Exactly.
of them, kick your friend type thing.
So I had to do that. And it became really popular. So when we opened Kenzan, we definitely did that. So we have everybody from 4-year-olds all the way up in much older than that.
Yeah. Now, when we do 1,000 punches or 1,000 kicks, is it start with 1,000 punches and it's just away you go? 10 in a row, next 10, away you go till you get up to 1,000, or do you?
Well, 1,000 punches, basically, it takes about 15 minutes.
Okay.
And then we take a bit of a break, and we do a warm up beforehand, and then 1,000 kicks takes between 30-35 minutes.
Yeah. So the whole thing takes about 40 minutes.
If the person screws up the count, they either have to do it over again, or they do 10 push-ups. I think last year we did is if you screw up the count, they do 10 push-ups, and then we keep going. Now we've done it different ways. We've gone like Ichi ni sanshi rokuju shichihachiku 10, Ichi ni sanshi goju rokuju shichihachiku 20.
Right.
We've done that, and then we've had everybody try and do it in Japanese, but they'll screw it up.
Okay.
We've done it in English, like 1, 2, 3, and then if someone says 30, the next person says 30, they've screwed it up. They have to do 10 push-ups. So you actually have to. Everyone's like keenly listening.
Yeah. Good.
One thing we added last year, I don't know if it was Craig or I added this. I can't remember.
1,000 push-ups.
No, it was 1,000 squats.
1,000 squats. I love it.
1,000 combined squats.
Okay.
So afterwards, you went and did 10 squats or 100 squats, and then you wrote your number on the board until we got to 1,000.
Okay.
I think we were way over. And then we have a potluck.
Yeah, of course. Big party dinner.
Big party dinner.
Yeah.
So, but this year we're not doing the potluck because we're having it right on December 24th.
Right. Yeah. Christmas Eve.
Last year, I think we had it a couple days after Christmas, just the way the calendar worked.
Sure.
So that's 1,000 punches, 1,000 kicks. Everybody welcome. Just do your best. In Maeda Sensei's club, the seniors stand in front of the juniors and they start kicking each other in the stomach when they're doing the 1,000 kicks. So we do 500 on one leg, 500 on the other leg. You take your time, focus on what you're doing, and it's a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, we used to do something like that too. It was more so before the summer kind of break. We did sometimes do it before the Christmas break as well, where we would go into Shigadashi and we would hold that for 10 minutes, try to hold it for 10 minutes. And of course, most people did make it.
Yes.
But we kind of, it was a fun thing. And same idea where it was just kind of an accomplishment where, we got through this and we did it and away we go type thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I bet you there's a bunch of Shotokan people listening to this right now. We do Kibadachi.
Yes, that's right.
For an hour.
No problem.
No problem.
Yeah.
In Japan, the end of the year, you have year-end parties called Bonenkai.
Okay.
Year-end party.
Yeah.
So the karate club will have their last practice and normally have a Bonenkai. And it's colder, right? So they'll get a restaurant And one of the really nice things about Japan is you can go to a restaurant and go, I'm bringing 30 people, and we want to eat so much food and we want to drink so much. How much is it going to cost? And they'll say, okay, it's $30 each. And you show up and you just collect $30 and you give it to the restaurant and it's done.
Easy.
Yeah. Really love that.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't take a lot of planning. You just figure out the menu. And if you get a restaurant that knows what they're doing and you get more food, and then it's just kind of like they just keep bringing food out in front of you. So it's normally like that. There's always some sort of speeches. Sometimes, you know, people are giving out presents. A lot of clubs will give out awards for the best of something.
Right.
So, for example, which student in the club won the most competitive medals that year?
Sure.
Which person attended the most classes? Which person did something that was the most inspiring?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I like that.
So they'll give out, like, you know, club awards. And I've kind of thought about that. In the past, I gave out one award, which was the best attendance of the year. So I've been kind of thinking about that as well. But, you know, the 1,000 punches, 1,000 kicks, a good one.
Any other kind of traditions in Japan that?
Well, let's talk about Christmas.
Okay, let's do it.
Christmasu.
Christmasu, of course.
Well, Japan is not a Judeo-Christian country.
No, yeah.
Or have those traditions. So Christmas is a work day.
Okay.
I am not a Christmas person, so I really liked being in Japan. You know, now I've been working a lot as you know, these last few weeks. So I've missed the whole Christmas shopping thing.
Yeah.
You know?
You didn't miss much.
I didn't miss much. Okay. But you know, like how people like, have you done your Christmas shopping?
Yeah,
Where are your Christmas
yeah.
shopping? So you don't hear any of that in Japan. And then you just work on the 25th. Kids are out of school normally by then, out of elementary school and stuff. The karate club is training.
Okay.
Obviously.
Of course.
People are at work. But Christmas is commercialized in Japan, and they'll have presents for kids. And when kids are really young, they'll, you know, give them presents, and they'll in the house, and they'll have that sort of thing. And there'll be a Christmas concert for the kindergartens. We'll put on a Christmas concert.
Sure.
Family Christmas. And then for couples without kids, or, you know, who are still dating, they'll the thing about Christmas is it's supposed to be romantic.
Okay.
Yeah. So they will have a nice dinner at a really nice restaurant, and they'll, you know, book a room at a very nice hotel.
Sure.
And, you know, that's very
have a nice
romantic.
Little
it's almost like a Valentine's.
Yeah.
It's almost like a Valentine's Day. And there is something weird that happens. For some reason, people order Kentucky Fried Chicken and get strawberry cake. Strawberry cheesecake.
I love that.
And I think it's because, like, eating turkey is really not a big tradition there.
Sure.
You know, and we could get it. It's just, but so people would think, well, if we're not gonna have turkey, let's get Kentucky Fried Chicken, because there's all the major fast food chains in the States are basically there.
Sure.
You know, actually, Maeda Sensei's wife once asked me if we had 7-Eleven. I'm like, yeah,
on every corner.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
we do.
Yeah, and they have it. Of course, they have even more.
Yeah.
And so there's like get KFC and have some cheesecake.
You know what? I would not be opposed to having KFC over Christmas over turkey.
Okay.
Turkey's about the driest bird you can get, but I don't. It's tradition, so you just have it, I guess. But
yeah, so that's the tradition on Christmas. But the big holiday in Japan is New Year's.
Okay, like the January 1st New Year's?
January 1st New Year's.
Okay.
Yep. So the 3 or 4 days before New Year's, it is spring cleaning in Japan.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a little, well, north is cold, but it's a little bit warmer. Every day is sunny. Every single day is sunny.
Yeah.
Brilliantly sunny. You know, it's a perfect day to see Mount Fuji because Mount Fuji is normally covered in clouds. In the winter, you can see it. So spring cleaning. So even the parents will say to Sensei, okay, Sensei, we're the parent association, and we're here to completely clean the dojo from top to bottom.
Wow, that sounds nice, doesn't it?
So they clean the dojo from top to bottom, like every corner, every ledge, you know, because they're basically going like, I know you make my kid clean the dojo during the year after class, and they can't do it.
Yeah.
You know, they're crappy at it. So New Year's is big, and then everyone has a bit of a break for a couple of days. A lot of people go home to wherever their families are living, and they have osechi dori, which means Japanese New Year's food, which basically is, you know, basically when we're cooking in the kitchen and they're making all this like finger food, you eat with a chopstick, but all this type of like fishes and vegetables
Sure.
and salted like food and
Appetizers. And
appetizers
stuff.
and
Yeah.
just tons of it. And they put it in these boxes that stack.
Okay.
So every level has different food in it. And then once New Year's kicks in, they don't cook.
That's it.
They don't cook. Maybe they'll order sushi.
Yeah.
And then for a couple days.
or KFC.
Yeah, or KFC. Yeah, exactly. So for a couple days, they just sit around a Japanese living room. They have a low table. And then they have this blanket that goes between the table top. You can lift it up and you can put this really heavy blanket, which sweeps 360 on all sides. And then underneath the table in the middle is a heater.
Okay.
In Japan, there's a thing about you don't heat your house, you heat the body.
Yeah, I remember you saying this. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So you only have one heater in maybe one room of the house, right? You might have air conditioning units around, and they have a heat and a cold function, but you wear more layers, you know. So everyone sits around, they eat that stuff, and sometimes at the end of December they rebroadcast the Japan National Karate Championships. Normally like the semifinals and finals.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which of course we know just happened a few weekends ago.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so it's normally around this time they'll rebroadcast it.
Okay.
And you can sit around and watch it. So
it's like the Japanese version of the World Junior Hockeys, which
exactly
is big for Canadians, obviously, around this time of year. Yeah.
For a long time, a long time as in like the late 90s to maybe 2006 or something, there would be a massive K1 tournament, MMA tournament on December 31st in Tokyo Dome.
An MMA tournament.
Yeah. So K1 was kind of like a precursor of UFC.
Yes, that's right. Well, they're still around for MMA K1.
Okay. So they've, and maybe different owners or something.
Sure. Yeah.
And I don't know if Pride is still going now.
Pride is not still going.
Okay.
No.
So, but here's the weird thing. K1 would happen and secretaries and offices would get really excited and buy tickets. So there was a time when K1 and its fighters were really mainstream. It was almost like when, maybe back in the 80s, there was a moment in time, and maybe it happened since then and I just didn't pay attention, when pro wrestling was mainstream.
Oh, I was a huge pro wrestling fan when I was younger.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a moment in time where pro wrestling was, it's really popular now, of course, right?
Yeah,
but there was
yeah.
a moment maybe when the Hulkster was around or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it was just mainstream.
Yeah.
Just for a moment in time. And that's what K1 was like.
Okay.
So you had karate people in there and all different types of people. And so that would happen on December 31st. And so people would watch it. So December 31st had like a couple different big events happening. One was K1. And now they have there's a comedy team. They have a show called Downtown. And it's been on for a long time. Even when I used to live in Japan in the early 90s, Downtown was on. And they have a special on December 31st. So they record beforehand. It's like 8 or 9 hours or something silly like that. And the premise is the two main hosts and a bunch of friends go into some sort of like isolated research facility, isolated hotel, isolated office. And all these absolutely ridiculously stupid things happen to them. And if they laugh, out of the walls burst like ninjas with really hard rubber riot batons. Like not hard, like a slightly hard rubber riot batons.
Okay.
And they get smacked on the ass.
Like a little prank.
Right. Yeah. So it'd be like you and I are talking here, right?
And ninja jumps out of the door.
Just before that, like something weird has to happen.
Okay.
Like something like, some like 400-pound, overweight dude comes in a mankini and he runs through the office and he runs out for no reason whatsoever. And if one guy giggles and then they go like, Riichi, auto. Auto means out. And then
of course.
So some like ninjas run out and he has to bend over and they smack him. Or next year it's like a bunch of people dressed in, some sort of like crazy costume has to come out and they smack them. And they do it for, I think they do it over 24 hours, but then they cut it all into like a 8-hour show.
Yeah.
My wife loves it. So that's one. So one was K1, the other one was Downtown. Kohaku. Kohaku is like a singing variety telethon. Okay. There's that one. And then the other one, the one that I kind of like to watch, it was, I'm not sure what they call it here, but it's an obstacle course that you go through. Like you have to jump water, climb on you have to climb on like a wall. Then you've got it's like an obstacle course where you climb and jump and skip, and I think they call it like the ninja course now or something like American Ninja course.
Ninja,
That's it. There's a proper name for it in Japan. And and if you make it within like the 3 or 4 minutes all the way through all these crazy obstacles without falling into the water, then you pass the round. And they gather up, athletes and actors and all kinds of people really physically fit, and like 100 people. And out of 100 people, maybe 3 people make it. And the thing goes on for hours. So that's the 4 things that happen. So in the karate world, everybody watches this too.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, is it common in Japan, say on Christmas, whatever, to still give gifts? Is that still a thing, or
if there's little kids?
Sure.
Little kids, and maybe if you're dating with somebody.
Yeah.
So Christmas isn't a thing.
Right.
It's commercialized, and it's they use all the different Christmas themes in the shopping centers.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's New Year's. Yeah. New Year's is the deal.
New Year's is the big one.
Now, of course, if you're in a serious karate club, you have Fuyu Gashiku. Fuyu means winter, and Gashiku means camp.
Okay. Yeah.
Fuyu Gashiku is normally like a short time where they go and train somewhere. Normally, like university clubs will do it.
Okay.
Now, short time means 5 or 6 days.
Okay.
And you pay like $60, $70, and you all stay in like dorms and you train. And you normally do like a 6:30 a.m. run. Then all the juniors make sure that there's always some sort of training hall attached to wherever they're sleeping or within distance of jogging.
Sure.
Then you train 9 to 12, like basics, lots of basics, up and down the floor. You have lunch together. You have a bit of a break. Then the juniors make sure the dojo's ready, and then 2 to 6 you train, and that's normally like sometimes kata, but just normally kumite.
Sure, yeah.
A lot of kumite. And then everyone will either eat together right away, or everyone goes and they have communal baths in Japan for men and women, and then after that, eat together. And then if you have to write notes about your training day, and then by like 8 or 9 o'clock, you have to give it to sensei, all the senseis, the coaches in the room. And the senseis are in the room waiting, and you bring in your notebook, and they look at it. And I did this like year after year. And there'd be a bunch of us, and we'd look at their notebooks, they'd be stacked up there. And we'd have to write a comment. Like they would say, like, I did this, I did that, I did this wrong. And then sensei would write a little note for them. Then we'd stack them all back up. And then in the morning, we'd send them back. But if they didn't write enough, we'd yell at them and say, come back here, you didn't write enough. Come back, they have to reflect. It was good because it would keep everybody active and on task.
Yeah.
And then we would do so many, every time someone did something wrong, it was 100 squats for everybody. So there were days when like they would hit like 1,500 squats. Wow. And the place that we used to go for a gashiku, kids would actually crawl up the stairs because they couldn't climb stairs.
Yeah, after that many squats, I don't doubt it.
Well, when you say natsugashiku, it almost draws fear, because anxiety level goes up. Because now you're talking about having a training camp in the summer with probably no air conditioning. Yeah. So people shudder a little bit when you talk about natsugashiku if you come from a really serious karate club. What is a really serious karate club? What would you label? How would you define a serious karate club?
Well, you could probably provide more insight into that.
No, I'm just kind of curious. Like,
I think if
I'm not picking on you, I'm just saying.
If I would think of what a serious karate club would be, I think it would be somebody, obviously who takes their karate very seriously, and I would think about no games, we just train karate, we do traditional karate, then we do kata, then we do kumite, and this is what we do, and we're all working towards competition or getting your black belt or whatever it is. You're moving forward, and your life is dedicated to karate.
No, totally.
Am I close?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. I would have parents come up to me when the kid joined the club and say, he's a snotty little jerk. Smack him hard when he's out of place. And if you got to wind up good.
Don't miss.
Don't miss. He's going to know when he's broken the rules. He's in a karate club now. It's time for him to smarten up.
This is in Japan.
This is Japan, of course, not here.
Of course. I was going to say, times have changed a little bit, I think.
And people are walking to Kenzan. And I'd be like, well, thank you very much for your concern about your child and the fact you haven't raised them properly.
Yeah.
But we'll do our best.
Yeah.
Did we talk about the girls' high school club in Utsunomiya where on the wall in their dojo-kun, right?
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Talked about that.
Yeah.
Where,
In an earlier episode.
You're not serious.
Unless you have no teeth
Unless
or
you have no
something.
teeth.
Yeah.
In a girls' high school. It's a
Yeah.
girls' high school karate club.
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
says on the wall, if you have teeth in the front of your face, you have no guts because you don't know how to take a punch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
Bunch of toothless girls in those schools.
that's crazy, But I think everyone has their thing. For me, when someone says I'm really, really into karate, what I'm really interested in is their consistency. I think it's a two-way street. If you're not providing something that is exciting and interesting, the people are going to walk.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're thinking you can just scream at them, they're not going to stay. They actually have to sense some benefit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you when you're training people at the gym? I mean, if you just make them work out hard, but they don't sense benefit, I am assuming you're not going to see them again. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it depends on obviously what their program is, but for sure you have to tailor their program to what their needs are. So that's the first thing you always kind of do, and whether it's you're training somebody or whether you're doing fitness testing on a team or athletes or whatever, is you have to understand what their needs are. You do a needs analysis on what they want and what they're trying to get and what we need to do to improve whatever it is they're trying to improve. And if they think that you're not helping that, they're going to go find somebody else who will give them what they want. So I get that for sure. Yeah.
I think here people would quit sooner.
Yeah.
Whereas in Japan, they'll stick it out to the end of the year. They'll start April 1st and they'll go right to March 31st. And they'll go, okay, I finished my cycle. I did my job. And they might not attend that often. It's a good time really to think about, traditions and how people do things and how they approach karate. Because I was just reading in the newspaper, in the fitness industry, especially for gyms, and you probably see this, that a fitness gym has to replace 30 to 50% of its membership a year.
Oh yeah, easily. Yeah. I can
so
see
many
that for
people,
sure.
And within 6 months, most people are on the way out the door.
Yeah, if they're not committed, for sure. Yeah, I mean, and especially this time of year, especially going into January, you get all those little New Year's resolutioners come in, and anybody who's been in a gym knows, okay, January 1st, this gym's going to be packed for about 3 weeks, and then it'll start tailing off a little bit.
Yes.
People will start leaving. So, yeah, absolutely, you see it. But throughout the course of a year, even, people back out. I mean, they say it only really takes 6-8 weeks to really try and get into that habit, but most people follow even before that.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
I noticed in the karate club, and this is the same, I think, probably anywhere in the world, you're thinking about this. The parent discovers a karate club. The kid had no idea maybe it exists unless their friend told them about it. And so they bring the kid. But then if the parent's not consistent in bringing the child loses interest.
Totally.
But I think as long as this child still feels they're getting something out of it, they'll keep coming.
Yeah. And I think once they make that first jump from a white belt to a yellow belt, then I think they're almost on their way and they're a little bit more established. Because now it's like, ooh, it's new, right? Oh, I got this new belt. I'm a yellow belt now. Oh, how long is it going to take to get my orange belt or whatever the next step is? And so I think that plays a little bit of a role, getting that first step in too as well.
Yeah. So, so the new year. By the way, a tradition that we've been doing here is the Aruku Kai. Which Aruku is to walk, Kai is association. So it's a New Year's walk.
Right, that's right. Yeah.
Now, some clubs do January 1st, at any time before 12, you have to just show up no matter what damaged state you're in and do a punch on the floor and walk out. So I know some clubs have stuff like that. Shout out to Warren, Ken Sensei and Curtis, Chantel. And that's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Everything has value. There's other clubs that do, I don't think they do it on January 1st, but they do it sometime in that first week where they all go down to the beach and they do like they would call it here, they call it the polar bear swim. But they basically do like a New Year's training on the beach. Maybe your old association used to do that,
We
right?
did. Not necessarily a New Year's one, but we used to do one. Actually, we did do a winter one too. Actually, now that I think about it, we did used to do with Sensei Sato a winter training, not necessarily before Christmas. It was just kind of as it was starting to get colder, then we would do one. And then, of course, we would also do one in the summer. But yeah, you're on your beach doing your kata, doing your moving basics. And if the water happens to be there, you're going in the water. So you just keep kind of moving. It was fun, actually. It was fun.
I think in Vancouver they do like the second or third. Everyone goes down to like Kitsilano Beach and they all punch and kick in the water.
Yeah.
Which is kind of neat. That's kind of neat. It's like
fun.
A different tradition and way of doing things.
And it's, again, that idea of accomplishing something, getting through something. It's especially that cold. It's not great training out there, and it's obviously not great training wet, getting in the water and that kind of thing, but getting through it. And again, usually there's a dinner or something afterwards, so a big party and big celebration.
And I think this is the part of the year where you really see in a really crystallized way what human activity is like.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Why do people do anything?
Yeah.
Right? You're going to you have to work because you need to survive. Hopefully you're going to do something you enjoy. In your free leisure time, you're going to do things that maybe are interesting, maybe have a benefit. Really, they tickle your mind even when you do it. But you also want to do them with friends.
Of course. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like getting together with family or going to the gym to work out.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things for maintaining a fitness program or training program is, are you doing it with somebody that you want to be doing it with?
Exactly.
You're much more likely to continue a workout program if you're doing it with a friend.
I remember a long time ago in one of my original clubs I trained at, they had for a while there they had like a 6 a.m. practice, 6 to 7 a.m. practice.
Okay.
And they said, we're not going to train hard. Just come in. It's almost like doing like karate tai chi or something.
Just get in here. Yeah.
Just get in and just move around.
Yeah, yeah.
And but then my favorite part was after the instructor went with everybody out for lunch, for breakfast. So we trained from 6 to 7. I don't think I broke a sweat ever in that practice. But the cool thing is then we got to hang out with Sensei, and there'd be a whole bunch of us.
Yeah, yeah.
A whole bunch of young guys out with Sensei having,
sure,
having breakfast. And I was like, this is the best part of the week.
Yeah, yeah.
And
it
was
great.
It's that sense of like rewarding that you did it. And then I was still getting, by the time I got home, it was still before 9 o'clock, and I was like, wow, got some stuff done.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Train and wow.
Had breakfast.
I don't think if your heart rate doesn't go up, it's not training.
Yeah, well, you got there at least. At 6
you got there. No, that was the cool part. You had to make an effort to get there, right?
Yeah,
yeah. So those things are really important, and I think that whether we're here or you're listening to this, as I know all our listeners of the Karate 360 Nation,
yes,
around the world, you're having your festivities wherever you are.
Yeah, yeah. Boxing Day. This comes out, and then as we know here in the Western world, it's probably not the same in Japan. Japan doesn't have Boxing Day, I'm assuming.
Well, they don't really have Christmas, so
no. So what? You don't have Boxing Day. You don't need it. But of course, in the Western world, Boxing Day is crazy. It's the the shopping central day.
It's the old Black Friday.
It's the old Black Friday. Yeah. And then the States had Black Friday, and then Canada took Black Friday, and now it's kind of ours as well. So, but yeah, Boxing Day is obviously a big shopping day. And
I heard this lady on the internet going, "Doesn't everybody know we can order this stuff online now?"
Yeah, no kidding. I know. I think that every time I go, somewhere where it's busy, everybody's kind of shopping. There's people everywhere. It's like, you can just buy this all online and get it shipped to your door. Like, you don't need to go through this anymore.
But then there you go. People want to interact with other people.
Totally, and get that feeling, the Christmas music and all that's playing. And
well, they're also late in their Christmas shopping.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, guilty.
There's only so many Starbucks gift cards that you can get for people.
Yeah.
But keep bringing them to me, everybody.
Yeah,
I'll take them.
I can drink all the coffee.
That's right. I'm working my way through about 4 cards right now. Thank you very much, you wonderful students.
Yeah.
Normally I get just a typical, the cheapest Starbucks coffee, whatever. That's fine for me.
Sure.
When the gift cards come, bring on the eggnog.
Bring it on. So let me ask you, in the Mosdell household, Christmas.
Yes.
What Christmas morning? What happens? So obviously you guys came from Japan, so you were rooted in Japan tradition, but now you're living here in Canada. Has things changed?
Let the presents rain.
Especially since you have 2 young ones.
Yeah, actually we're good. We're good because they never had the extended family shipping massive boxes of presents.
Right.
So there was really just 4 things for each of them.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And stockings.
Yeah, of course.
And stockings.
Yeah.
And they're still kind of weirded out by the whole thing. Like, they still kind of like, why do we have to like sing songs? Why do we have to do this sort of stuff?
Because they probably have to do the Christmas concerts too.
Yeah, they did the Christmas concert in Japan, and then they did Christmas concert here.
Yeah.
And by the way, Christmas concerts in Japan are like a Broadway production for the kids. Practice for months.
Really?
Months. Oh yeah, it's okay. Let me give you an example. The kindergarten that was part of the company I taught at, right? The kindergarten Christmas production was an hour and a half.
Wow. Just the kindergarten.
Just the kindergarten production was an hour and a half. And the graduating kids, the 5-6-year-olds, would put on like a 20-minute play.
Whoa.
Full costumes and music. One year was they were Christmas pirates who had stolen these princesses.
Oh,
so the Christmas princes had to save them. It was a huge production. Oh yeah, and here's the other thing. The parents dressed up in their Sunday best.
Oh wow.
And go.
Whoa.
Like, beautiful suits. I mean, it's Tokyo, right?
Yeah,
It's New York, Washington, and LA squashed together.
Yeah.
So they dressed in their Sunday finest.
Sure.
And a few years in a row I had to be Santa Claus. And some years I had to one year I was Santa Claus. Of course, I had to put a pillow, in the thing, in the suit. And I jumped out on stage and I went, ho, ho, ho. Like, silence. And they were like,
who's this guy?
Why would Santa say ho, ho, ho? Doesn't make any sense. So then after that, a couple of years I did it, and they had someone on the microphone, just be my voice.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was able to recruit like the next young guy to have to do it. And I got out of it the role. So, because somebody look at me, that's Richard Sensei. That's for sure Richard Sensei. No, it's not.
That's funny. Here in obviously the North America, the Western world, you're lucky if you get an entire school an hour presentation or an hour concert for Christmas, and even that, maybe half of the kids are singing.
I don't think it was Chris. I saw my son drum a bucket.
Yeah, yeah.
At a concert at his school.
Yeah. And
these people are fantastic. And you know what? I thought, good on you for making sure he gets an education.
Yeah.
And not practice for 3 months a Broadway production.
Yeah.
How about at the Anglos household? Here comes Christmas. Are you thinking like, new gi, new shin pads?
New gi or tracksuit sometimes. Yeah, that was always kind of the big one for sure when I was growing up. Actually, yeah, I still remember one of my favorite gifts growing up was a tracksuit. It was like a, not a team tracksuit, but a kind of club tracksuit. Okay. I really wanted one and I got it. Anglos Christmas is big.
Okay, okay.
Mama Anglos loves Christmas. She also is Catholic, so she subscribes to, or she did subscribe at least to the religion. So it's big in our house. She goes crazy. She decorates the house like crazy. There's lights everywhere, music playing, baking, more than you can even ever eat in a lifetime. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we just kind of all get together Christmas morning, do all the big Christmas exchange thing, big Christmas dinner at night. But probably my favorite part about it is actually Boxing Day, when really our entire family gets together, and it's no gifts. That's not true. There is a few gifts, but it's really relaxed. It's just we're all hanging out, just having dinner. We don't eat turkey. Mm-hmm. And we just kind of hang out, and that's kind of the best part about Christmas, I think, in the Anglos household for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you're like 2-3 days away from it then. Yeah.
Well, when this airs, it'll already have happened. And of course, so
the weight cutting will then kick in.
That's right. Will be good until after Christmas. Already, when this comes out, the the carb cutting will be back in action. And being avid sport fans, we're all kind of big sport fans. Like I mentioned before, the World Junior Hockey is a big thing as well. Always starts every year on Boxing Day. Mm-hmm. So we always kind of get together on Boxing Day as well. So it's kind of like a big 3. Oh, and my mom's birthday also is on December 23rd. So it's like a 3, 4, 5 day kind of hangout celebration. So it's always good. And I'm definitely looking forward to it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. See, wherever you are, people getting together doing stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Do
you still have to give a Christmas list to your parents?
I do not have to give a Christmas list to my parents. Actually, my mom always has to ask me like, what do you want? And I always have to, I don't really actually care what you get me. I just want to hang out for a few days and just relax.
Just put the receipt on the back.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I mean, of course, especially these past couple of years with school and stuff being so busy and just kind of trying to crunch everything in before, it's kind of nice to get, okay, it's Christmas. I have a few days where I don't have to worry about anything. Like I can just hang out. So definitely looking forward to that. And yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah. You know, as owning a karate club, the few times I've taken some time off, it takes about 2 or 3 days for the brain to slow down.
Totally, yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'm sure all you amazing listeners know exactly what I'm talking about. It takes a few days to slow down. It takes a few days for me to go, I'm not going to look at my phone.
Yeah.
Except maybe once.
Not going to think about work. I'm just going to
That's right.
hang
And then
out,
the kids
yeah.
and I sort of kick into a routine of we all kind of get up around the same time,
Yeah,
have breakfast, and then we figure out some sort of adventure for the morning. Last year was good because the weather was good, so I think we were even playing tennis in the wintertime or something.
Wow.
Just in the courts.
Great.
Yeah, the karate time. You know what I used to do though? On Christmas Day before I moved to Japan, I would always go to the dojo at some point.
On
At
Christmas
some point
Day?
on Christmas Day, there was always like a lull.
Sure.
You know, like some people love playing puzzles and stuff, and I felt like I just gotta go work out.
Yeah. Just
You
got to
know?
do something.
I gotta get ready for the meat sweats that are gonna come at night.
yeah. The 3-course
Exactly.
meal at the night. Yeah. You know, for me, it's always like trying to get my workouts and my trainings in as hard as I can for the week before, because I know once Christmas comes, it'll be a few days where maybe I'll eat.
Yes.
Well, absolutely, I'll eat too much, possibly drink too much, and just kind of, hibernate for a few days. So, yeah, try and get those stuff in before.
There you go. So everybody out there, start water loading now.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Get
It's
your
Boxing Day. You should be water loading and no more carbs for a few days.
exactly.
Cut
Exactly.
yeah.
All right. So that was our fantastic bantering. I think the thing that we like most about the podcast is bantering.
Yes, just being able to, and by that we just mean just talking and going back and forth and bouncing ideas off each other. Yeah,
exactly.
It's I mean, we both kind of have the gift of gab, I think, a little bit, so it's kind of easy for us to get into conversation. But absolutely, I think that's one of the better things.
It's a gift and a curse.
Yeah, absolutely. yeah. I remember we were coming back. Actually, it's happened to us a couple times. Usually when we travel, now we travel together. And, late at night, coming home on one of the later ferries, we're walking or we're driving home and you're still talking and talking. You look at me and said, you can tell me to shut up anytime, I said, no, this is good. You're keeping me awake. Keep talking. Because especially after a tournament or something, just exhausted. So, no, yeah, it's good. It's fun.
It's awesome. It's awesome. No, yeah, the brain just wants to keep going. And talking about keep going, let's talk a little bit about some stuff that this news that has come up in the karate world.
Sure. So this week we do want to bring you a little bit of our Karate Global News.
This in from the WKF.net website. News Center is a media release as of the 12th of December. That's right. The International Olympic Committee, also known as the IOC Executive Board, agreed today. Well, this is a couple days ago, but I'm going to say today. To add
Breaking news.
That's right. To the sports program of the 2018 Youth Olympic Games to be held in Buenos Aires. In which country?
Argentina.
Fantastic.
Oh,
The decision.
I'm so globalized.
You betcha. The decision represents yet another groundbreaking moment for the ancient discipline. We're ancient, by the way.
Wow.
After its inclusion in the program of the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, which was confirmed by the 129th IOC session in August. By the way, that was August 3rd. Now, what the heck are the Youth Olympic Games, are you saying?
Yeah, that was something that I'd never heard of before, the Youth Olympic Games. So this is the first time karate will be included in 2018. I'm assuming these happen every 4 years or maybe every 2 years. I'm not sure.
I think it's every 2 years.
Yeah.
Started in 2010. And as of, they say, to use Google all the time actually is not good for your brain. You're actually supposed to sit there and think a little bit before you actually just
that
Google off.
absolutely makes sense.
That's right. So anyway, I'm thinking, and my brain says, over 200 countries and 3,600 athletes participated in the inaugural 2010 Youth Games, ages 14, 15, 16, 17, and 17 and 18. So So it happens. Looks like it happens every 2 years, and probably different summer and winter ones. So karate is in it for 2018, which is fantastic. It gives us a big boost. I think if I'm right, karate is not the only one that's going to be in it. In terms of new sports.
Okay, so maybe a few of them were added.
Yeah, a couple other of them I think also were added.
It'd be interesting to see what other combat sports as well are in the Youth Olympic Games.
That's a really good idea. According to the list we find right now, the regular list for example, the Summer Olympic Games is 28 sports, and the Youth Olympic Games here is 28 sports. So to be included in 2018, it's awesome because it's 2 years just before the 2020.
Yeah, so whatever sports are in the Olympic Games are in the Youth Olympic Games. And of course, karate's not in the Olympics until 2020. But to be included in the Youth Olympic Games is great, and I think a big step for the sport of karate.
And if you're listening to this and you're going, no, boys, you have it all wrong. How dare you? How dare you say that? Then I'm happy to receive your message, and we will update next week.
Yeah, so that's Youth Olympic Games in the 2018 for karate. So we'll have a little bit more information on that hopefully going forward, and we'll keep you guys notified on that. Kind of what else we want to talk about a little bit in our Karate Global News is we want to talk a little bit more about the... Wait
a minute, you have to say a little bit more one more time.
A little bit more. We need to talk a little bit more, just a little bit more about the WKF Sinshoo rule. I want to talk a little bit more about that. Sinshoo. So we had talked about this in a previous episode and kind of just reiterating what we talked about then and just kind of confirming what we talked about. I'm going to read out here the WKF, what it is, and kind of how it all comes together. So here it is. This is the explanation of the new Sinshoo rule. When deciding the outcome of a bout by vote...
Whoa. Got to lay off on those cigarettes.
Let me retry that.
Yes, go ahead.
When deciding the outcome of a bout by vote, or hante, at the end of an inconclusive bout, the referee will move to the match area perimeter and call hante, followed by a two-tone blast, blah, 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 of the whistle. Yes, okay. The judge will indicate their opinions by means of their flags, and the referee will at the same time signal the vote by a hand signal. Yes, we all know this. They'll then blow the whistle, return to his original position, and indicate the winner in the normal way. 2, by first unopposed score advantage. So here we go. Sinshoo is understood that one contestant has achieved the first instance of scoring on the opponent without having the opponent also score before the signal. In instances where both contestants score before the signal, no first unopposed score advantage is awarded, and both contestants retain the possibility of Sinshoo later in the bout. Richard, why don't you just digest that a little bit and break it down?
All right, so if I score a point on you when you don't score a point on me, because recently in the rules, both sides could score a point.
Yes.
Right? Get two flags, both score a point. So one person can score a point, the other person doesn't get it, that's unopposed. If you keep both scoring, then there's no Sinshoo. Once you get 1 point where the other person didn't get a point at the same time when Yame was called, you get Sinshoo. And they're going to have to show it with a flag or something.
Yes.
The computer systems will all get updated by January.
Okay.
So it'll show on the computer screen. And yeah, my head's gone back and forth on the reason for this. Why did they make it Sinshoo, which means first, and not Saishoo, which means last?
Okay.
Because my concern here is, all right, you get a point and then you defend it.
Mm-hmm.
Even Agiev is really known for that when you watch his matches, where he'll get a couple points ahead. And then he's so good at running out the clock and
jamming you up.
Jamming. You look at a fight like his, it's 1/3 scoring, 1/3 defending, and 1/3 time killing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely it.
So I thought, well, maybe Sinshoo would make the match less interesting. But then if it's Saishoo, if it's the last uncontested point, you could have people, and this is really common, where they bounce for the first minute or so. They take 1 or 2 category 2 penalties for inactivity. So by putting it Sinshoo, they want to see more activity sooner.
Yeah, and you see that often in the medal rounds as well, especially when the competition gets a little bit tougher. You kind of play your opponent out a little bit, and usually that first minute, there's not a lot of action.
Yep. If in professional fighting, you could just say, all right, the later points you score, the less money you make.
Yeah, but we don't give money.
We don't give money. Now we could.
Yeah.
If you really thought about it, the World Karate Federation level. You could somehow start figuring out if you just said, all right, it's not a lot of money, but it's money.
It's money to win this tournament or whatever, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, if you're in a medal round for one of the 3 top medals, you're going to get, there's money involved in terms of finishing. Now, does that make it professional? But then when you look at track and field and 100-meter racing, a lot of those people are paid.
Yeah.
Right? So, so Sinshoo.
I think it'll become a little bit more, not just clear, but it'll become a little more worked out when we actually start using it and actually start seeing how, okay, this is how it's going to work. This is how the system's going to be. Because right now, I think there's still a lot of people that are wondering, like, well, exactly how is this going to work and exactly what is it going to look like? So,
and it depends how much people are they going to overthink it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. People are going to, I think. Yeah.
I mean, it's a flashy new thing in the rules.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I remember when the rules went from a half point to a full point to 3 points, 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
And I was like, whoa, look out. And then, of course, it changed the way the strategy. But this, we'll see. I hope there's more activity.
Yeah, and that's what I like about this. I think it's moving Kumite, obviously, forward and karate as well, but moving it forward and evolving. And that's something that the sport of karate is going to have to do as we get closer to the Olympics and that kind of thing. So, I mean, it shows that we're trying to make it more exciting and that we are trying to get more action in the fights, which is what we obviously need or what we obviously want for the outsiders, at least looking in. So it's a step in the right direction. Is it the right step? We'll see. We'll have to see it in action and see what works.
In the non-competitive karate world, you have to go through and do your higher belt tests and your dan tests, and normally you have to spar.
Yeah.
And you don't do Jiu Kumite, Free Kumite. You do Jisai Kumite, more realistic.
Yeah.
You have to control the match because there's no one saying you may when you score a point.
Right.
Right? You fight the other person, you don't injure them, and you control it. In that case, you do have to do Sinshoo. You do have to try and score first and keep scoring and protect and score because the judging panel is looking at you to think, are you able to apply all the Kumite stuff that you've been learning? Now, of course, it's related to age and experience. Because when at the beginning of a match, the center referee says "shobu hajime," and shobu means to fight. So if actually in Japanese TV and in cartoon characters, when they're like the two evil characters meet, they go, "This is shobu. This is a fight." And so it's not. It's not tag hajime. It's shobu. We're gonna have a fight now. And Suzukite is what you're supposed to say in between. Suzukite hajime. That means it's going to continue.
This is a fight. And it's going to continue.
So someone getting ready for their dan test or going for the dance, they're gonna have to actually fight like this. This is what you should be fighting. You should be. You want to impress the judges that you can score first and you can protect yourself and you can control the match and be safe. You keep yourself safe while not injuring the other person.
Yes, yeah.
So Sinshoo is also, it's a different writing in Japanese kanji. It means athlete.
Okay.
So everybody competing, even in karate, they would say their last name and Sinshoo. For example, if it was kata, they'd say Aka Tanaka Sinshoo.
Okay.
Ao Sato Sinshoo.
Right. For athlete,
For athlete name, right?
Richardo Sinshoo.
It'd be Masdello Sinshoo. Well, they always called me Richardo. But same thing in baseball, whatever. Every time they talk about somebody, they put Sinshoo because they want that to sound like that's their title.
Okay.
And if you're an official, they'd say Shimpan. Suzuki Shimpan.
So yeah, we'll see in 2017 when these rules get put in. How it looks in action. Good enough?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys. One of the last things that we wanted to talk about here in episode 15 is a little bit of karate academia or karate research that has been out there. So as part of my own master's thesis research, I've been diving into not only all the karate research, but all the combat sports research in general. And something that I found really specific. So in this fitness testing that we were putting together for karate athletes, we've got
and regular people.
Yeah, absolutely. We have an aerobic test, so an aerobic endurance test, that kind of thing. And we use the beep test, which is a one of the gold standard field tests that you can use. Most sports kind of use it. But what I came across in some karate research is something that a couple of researchers put together called the karate specific aerobic test. So before I talk a little bit about that, we need to understand that the gold standard test for aerobic fitness is a VO2 max treadmill test, where you run on a treadmill. It gets harder and harder, and you have a gas analyzer on, so it's looking at all the oxygen you consume and the CO2 that you expel and all that kind of stuff. So that's the gold standard. So
I'm looking forward to that, by the way.
Yes, and we're going to get you absolutely on there. And we actually have some numbers now of what karate athletes are at in different nations, so we can kind of compare some of it. So that's coming down the road. But what we found was a karate-specific aerobic test. Now, basically what these researchers wanted to do is they wanted to find another field-based test that they can use to test karate athletes' aerobic fitness using karate-specific techniques. So the test is basically one person holding a heavy bag. So there's a heavy bag holding it so it doesn't swing around. The person doing the test does a series of 4 techniques. So they do a lead punch. So they do oh man, my mind is Kizamizuki. And then they do a Mawashi Geri off the back leg, and then they do a Gyakuzuki, and then they do a Mawashi Geri off the lead leg, in that order. And you do that twice. So all 4 techniques twice, and you have to do it within 7 seconds. So you get 7 seconds to do those 4 techniques, and then you get a 7-second rest. And then you do it again. And then every time you get to the rest portion, the rest gets shorter and shorter. So the first one, 7 seconds, 6 seconds, 5 seconds, 4, blah, 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 and so on. And basically what they're testing is how long it takes you to get to exhaustion, so where you can't actually complete those 4 techniques within the 7 seconds. And then, of course, they also have the gas analyzer on you as well, looking at all of this. So it's an interesting kind of look at a way that we can test karate athletes' aerobic fitness. Unfortunately, as of right now, the actual referencing this to the treadmill test, the gold standard, isn't the greatest. The actual measures that we're looking at, we look at VO2 max, VO2 peak, which is just the amount of oxygen you're consuming and that kind of thing, and how high you can get that. They don't quite relate from this specific test to the graded treadmill test. But what this karate-specific aerobic test can tell, and has been shown to tell in the research, is you can actually predict or show elite athletes. They can differentiate between elite athletes and non-elite athletes or novice athletes. So that's something that's kind of coming down the pipeline a little bit here, is this specific test. And it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens.
It's funny you brought that up, because I completely forgot about a fitness test we did in Japan in my last club.
Really?
Yeah, I totally...
Did you do this test?
No, it's really similar.
Okay.
We'd have 3 athletes standing in a triangle, and 1 athlete in the middle, and they would all be in a fighting stance. And 3 athletes would be holding a target mitt in each hand.
Okay.
And if I was the performing athlete, I would turn to my left, so the left side of the triangle, and I would do a lead leg roundhouse kick and then twist into a reverse punch.
Okay.
Then I have to slip back into my starting position.
To the middle.
And then I turn and look at the middle person and switch stances. So my right leg is in front.
Okay.
Then I do a right leg roundhouse kick, left arm reverse punch, slide back. And slide back is like a foot.
Sure, yeah.
And then I turn to the person on my right, switch to my left leg, and again go left leg roundhouse kick, right hand reverse punch, slip back. Then do my biggest turn, which was like, a 90-degree turn back over to the left.
To the first person, yeah.
To the first person. So I'm going left, switch
so
legs, middle.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and then you have to do as many as you can in a minute.
Okay.
And then I would stand behind the athlete, and if they did a sloppy kick, I would say, okay, that one was sloppy. Right? So I was checking their technique. But basically, if their technique was good, they would just do more.
Yeah,
if they would just lift their leg in a sloppy way, then they would be slower. So they take more time.
Sure. That's similar with this test too. There's actually an evaluator that's looking, and if it gets to the point where your techniques aren't strong enough, then they say, that's it, you're done.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Which is,
And we just did it for a minute.
Okay.
So as many as you can in a minute. And sometimes we would count at first we used to count like every time you hit a station, but then we
Sure.
thought, no, it's how many times you did the three to make a series.
Sure.
So left, middle, right, 1, left, middle, right,
Okay.
2.
Yeah.
And
So now that's
and like 18, 19 was kind of like for the high school kids.
okay. That's actually probably that'd be more anaerobic performance. But that's actually a pretty good one.
So aerobic performance means it would have to go for how long?
Usually aerobic is anything over 2 minutes.
Okay.
So even if that test took that test in particular that you were doing there, because it was in sets of 3, those would probably take maybe 10 to 12 seconds, 10 to 15 seconds to get through those 3. So that's
not
strictly
for me.
No, of course 4 or 5 seconds, right? I understand. We're talking.
But it's interesting. For sure, it's anaerobic because the quality would. After a minute, the quality would start to drop.
Yes, yeah. What makes this an aerobic test is you get that rest and then you go again. So it lasts longer and it gives you more time to get oxygen into your muscles and that kind of thing. So it's interesting, and it's actually come up in quite a few different research studies that I've looked at. So there's definitely, it's kind of the same group of people using it and supporting each other. But it's going to be interesting to see. The latest research that I saw was in 2016. So it's still something that's happened this year, and we'll see kind of what happens.
If you took the same bunch of athletes and got them in a training program where you did a beginning test, and let's say they're community athletes or cut athletes, and you put the heart rate monitors on them and made them do really hard specific exercises related to karate, and then tested them every month or something like that, would that eventually build up? I would think that would build up a set of reliable data.
It would. You would be able to look at basically their same exercise intensity at a lower heart rate. So you'd be able to, you'd expect them to be able to work at the same capacity, but keep their heart rate at lower. So that's kind of one way to tell. Another indirect way to tell, and something that I think I might consider using in some of the fitness testing that we do, is looking at blood lactate. So blood lactate just looks at the lactic acid that's basically in your blood, and it's really simple. It's just like if anybody's a diabetic or knows a diabetic, you just take your little finger prick and you put it on that little system. It works exactly the same, and that will actually tell you a little bit more about where your thresholds are. So we've talked a little bit about anaerobic threshold and lactic acid and lactate threshold and that kind of thing in earlier episodes, and those will kind of tell that. Heart rate gets a little bit tricky because it got a lot of different variables to it. But yeah, absolutely. It's
technique, I guess.
Of course, technique at that point too is going to become, especially if you're talking about competing athletes and everything. So yeah, it's kind of interesting what's coming around. And I think one thing that's going to happen now that karate's in the Olympics is we're going to see a lot more karate research.
That's great.
From me and from others as
That's
well.
Right.
But it's
you heard it here.
Go
to www.kalananglos.com.
That's right, for all the latest karate research.
That's right.
This
is something that people can do in the club though. Like, instead of just jogging around the dojo or just doing 100 jumping jacks.
And I really like the one of using, obviously, you could do this karate specific aerobic test, but you would have, athletes falling off a minute in and maybe some lasting 10, 15 minutes. Whereas the one you mentioned there, the anaerobic one where you're going in groups, first of all, you're working in a group, so that's nice. But also it's just go. Okay, now you rest, the next person goes, and then maybe the next time you go, okay, now you go again. So I like that as well.
Yeah. Well, people don't have to keep the scores of doing this. They can incorporate it.
Just use it as a training technique. Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Even I've been getting the even 4 to 6 year olds to run to the point that the heart is really pounding.
Yes.
Because they'll run doing stuff, but they'll never really run until their heart's really hard, and they'll go, "Sensei, something wrong with my heart." and some parents actually hear. They have never seen their kid really sweat hard.
Right, yeah.
Right? So I like the idea of doing stuff like this for any age.
Yeah, it's great. Anyways, guys, that's kind of our episode 15 of Karate 360, bringing you the little holiday cheer and
Ching, ching, ching.
Ching, ching, ching.
Merry Christmas.
And a Merry Christmas, obviously, and Happy Holidays from Richard and myself and our Karate 360 crew here in the studio.
Whatever it is out there that warms your heart this time of year, good for you.
Do that and enjoy it. One thing,
it.
Whether you celebrate Christmas or not, it's always good to kind of step back, take a break, and realize kind of what the more important things about life are, I guess.
Yeah, reflect.
Yeah,
and make sure you keep kicking and punching.
That's right. Always.
Absolutely. And we will record another episode next week. We're going to do a look back at 2016. I've already got a few ideas on some interesting stuff that we can talk about in terms of karate. And send in any ideas that you got. Next time we will chat, and you'll hear us. This is our last one you'll hear in 2016. Next one you hear in 2017.
That's right.
Maybe next year we'll do like a New Year's show, sell tickets.
That's a great idea.
Yes.
Good. All right, guys. Thanks again. This is episode 15 of Karate 360, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
San Rokumaru.